Okay, so I'm back for a review. I'm going to try to do things a little differently this time. I'm actually going to really try to get in and get out of this review of Real Housewives of Atlanta. Insanity, okay? I'm just going to start by saying this. This past Sunday was insane for TV, Sunday night, because The Walking Dead is back on, and y'all, that is my show. That is it. When The Walking Dead is on, everybody else can go to hell. So it's very hard for me to kind of get everything in, because there's Walking Dead, there's Real Housewives of Atlanta, there's Mob Wives. Sunday night is just my night to kind of just veg out on TV. I work my ass off the rest of the week. So Sunday night, I just, chill with a glass of wine and my food and just me. That's me time. So anyway, but this Sunday was insane. And Real Housewives of Atlanta, wow, this season has been off the chain. They have just really turned it up times 100. And I will say this for the producers, this episode, I like the way they did it. Because, all of the hype and the drama of the fight happened the last episode and the kind of the beginning of this episode. Now, they could have left it at that, and they could have just kind of kept going on. But I liked that they did what is called, to me anyway, great storytelling. They had everyone in the group retell what they thought happened from their perspective, and that is the best way to get even more drama out of something, because no one ever remembers anything accurately. That is why the justice system is what it is. It's very hard to rely on what a witness says they saw, because everyone thinks that what they saw is absolute, and it's not. It's just your perspective, and it's your biases, and it's everything else, but it is not the whole truth. So everyone in this saw something, and what they saw was a partial truth and a biased truth. So anyway, let me get started with that. Having said that, I'm just going to run down the things that I liked and the things that I didn't like. And there's one thing that I think is just the big WTH what the fuck moment of this whole thing. You all probably know what that is, but just stick with me for a minute. Let me go through the good shit. Nene's husband, Greg, and this is just kind of a side note thing. I don't know what the hell he's doing on this show anymore. I mean, he's just kind of like Nene's little... whatever, it's her husband, and they've worked things out. I'm very happy that they did that. Good luck to them. But he's just, if you look at him sometimes on the show now, he just serves no purpose. He's just pretty much air, her butt wipe. That's fine. That's their relationship. He loves that role. But he just kind of sits there. And my question was, where was Greg when all of this drama was going on? Because the men are puffed up and, ready to fight and overreacting, of course. And Nene's husband was nowhere to be found. Whereas I think that in this moment when Nene was losing her mind too, and yelling and screaming and acting a fool and prancing around in her with her boobs and butt out in an outfit that was, I think, butt ugly, but whatever, he still wasn't around. He still should have been the one to say, babe, bring it down a couple of notches. But you notice he didn't. And I'll tell you why. Because Nene's bringing home the money. Okay? And he knows what side his bread is buttered on. So he's not going to say anything. You better not. But I did like his shirt. So that's all I'm going to say about him. But moving on. Nene at Cynthia's house. I'm going to give that a big old thumbs down. I'm going to have to, as a matter of fact, give that a big fail. No. Nene and Cynthia, I got to tell you something. But for the both of you, there would be no drama. There would be no drama. Kenya did add to the drama, but the conversation that Nene and Cynthia had is what I call an exercise in denial and placing blame. Now, you remember the girls in high school who used to be like, let's say, the biggest mouths, the biggest shit stirrers. They instigated everything, never got into fights, always started them. And then when the fights were over, they'd be like, I didn't say that. Oh, you thought I said, oh no, John said, oh, those girls. So that's Nene and that's Cynthia. And it's certainly this episode. So them going over what they thought they saw and placing blame on Kenya, I just thought was BS. But I'm going to come back to Nene in a minute. So anyway, this whole Cynthia-Nene thing, I'm not down for that. I think that they just don't have any idea how bad it makes them look. Although I think Cynthia, I'm going to tell you this is my call. Cynthia realizes how bad it makes her look because she was on Andy Cohen's show, which I love that show. He's such a little cutie pie. But she was on his show, and he asked her about it. He asked her a lot of questions about it, and her whole take was, which is what I can't stand about this woman, although I like her. This is her role in the show, and this is her personality, which was, whatever, okay, I know, but we're just going to get over that part, and this is just what it is, and that's it. And Andy Cohen was like, bitch. His whole expression was like, oh, bitch, you didn't even answer the question. And like, he would ask her a pointed question. You know, we have viewers who are asking and are pointing out that you instigated a lot of this. And her answer would be like, look, we are not going to get into that. It is what it is. I just, you know, this is how I feel, and this is this, and that's that. And, you know, it's just like, no, Cynthia, that's not that. Okay, there's a whole lot to that. And that whole denial thing is probably what makes Peter want to put your head through the wall a lot of times. Because it comes from, to me, a denial, and it comes from a kind of an inflated sense of self. In other words, she thinks too highly of herself in order to, and you can't do that in an argument or discussion. You have to be able to take some blame in order for it to really be resolved. So anyway, that's my take. So next, boom, 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 Kenya and Brandon. You know, I gotta tell you something. I feel for Brandon. I know some people don't, but I feel for him because let's look at what really happened here. And I'm gonna give this discussion between them kind of a thumbs up, and I'm gonna tell you why. Kenya got up and she walked over to Chris's wife or whatever she is, and you know, Brandon should not. Okay, Christopher should not have put his hands on. I don't care what anyone says. Christopher should not have touched Kenya, especially when there was already bad blood between them. I understand that his wife was back there, but his wife could have stood up, or his wife could have said, "Don't come for me," or whatever. And it's not like Kenya was coming to fight. It's just she wanted to stand up and walk across the room. I don't think she should have, but she did. And there was a number of ways they could have handled that would have kept that from escalating. Now, I'm sure if you asked Chris today, what were you doing putting your hands on her? I'm sure he would have said, look, I just barely touched her. And that's the problem with these types of situations, is that you think that you're doing something with one intention. But when there's a lot of emotions behind that, and a lot of dirt, and a lot of stuff, and offensive, like hurt feelings, it comes out another way. So, whereas he may have been thinking, look, don't come near my wife, he, to me, was actually a little more aggressive than he needed to be by grabbing her arm. No, don't touch me. And so, okay, she didn't want to be touched. And of course, she's a drama queen, so she amped it up times 100. Don't touch me. She's such a drama queen. Kenya, girl, really? So, Brandon standing up to come to her defense, I think, was very admirable. It's what he should have done. As a friend, as her assistant, he should have said to that man, don't put your hands on her. But my problem with that is, and hear me out, that could have been avoided if he had actually had the courage to do what he should have done, which is grabbed her before she got up and walked across that room, right? Or maybe tapped her, which doesn't mean he could have stopped her, because I don't think anyone can stop Kenya when she gets in her mind what she wants to do. But if he at least had said to her, Kenya, come on back. You don't need to go over there to her. Just let that go. Let him speak. Just go ahead and let him speak. I do believe that she would have heard him, and it may have changed things. That's just my point. My thing is, that's not the point where you should have stopped things and gotten up. The point at which you should have gotten up is when she got ready to get up. That's when you tell your friend, hold up, back it up. Don't even go there. It's not worth it. That's my take. But anyway, the conversation with Kenya and Brandon in the kitchen, I co-signed with Brandon on him not pressing charges, and he could. You could say what he wants, but he very well could press charges, because you know, little thug Apollo has 1 foot in prison and 1 foot out. You know, he might as well stay greased up at this point, because he's going back. And sorry, I think he's going back. But you know, I was in a situation too where someone kind of attacked me, and she had kids on the scene. You know, I beat her behind. You know, but when the cops came, they found out that she was a corrections officer, and you know, they said, look, you know, you can have her arrested and she would get into a lot of trouble. She would lose her job. I mean, it would just be a whole thing. And you can do that right now because we have witnesses to show that she did attack you. And, you know, and plus she had her gun on her at the time. what? So anyway, the whole point was that I chose not to press charges, even though this chick went real ghetto and real crazy on me. I chose not to press charges because, number one, I still beat her behind, and number two, she had kids there and a newborn at that. So I really feel for Brandon. And maybe it was bullshit, but maybe this whole thing with Brandon saying, oh, he has kids and I don't want to press charges. But I think there's some truth to it. Because when I look at Kendra, when I look at Apollo and Phaedra, you know, you can't help but think about the babies. She has 2 babies, okay? And no matter what, their parents are knuckleheads, but you still want to hope that they will pull it together for their kids. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Moving on. Okay, moving on. I don't like that. Okay. All right. Brandon, I hold all the cards. It's true, Brandon held all the cards at that moment. And I would have said the same thing. I hold all the cards, bitch. I can really, really turn this out if I want. But I'm glad that he didn't. Phaedra, yeah. Yeah, so Phaedra and Apollo on some whole other, I'm going to give this a thumbs down, but I want us to understand something. I'm going to put this out there because I have not heard this in all of the reviews that I've been listening to, and everybody's been bringing up some really good points about Phaedra and Apollo. Okay, we all know that they are knee-deep into some really, probably dark stuff that they're doing. Certainly Apollo is. He's not the brightest guy in the world, clearly. But it goes without saying that Phaedra cannot possibly be as smart as she is and not know that he's doing it, which makes her guilty by association in some regards, or an accomplice in just that she's allowing him to do it and not doing anything about it. But more than likely, she has something to do with helping him do what he's doing. Having said that, her entire reaction about this whole thing, as well as his explanation of it, makes complete sense. You know, they're sitting in the kitchen and it's completely, Phaedra is passive anyway, which is why I don't like her. She's extremely passive. Kenya has her nailed down. She would rather play with her nipples than to sit there and have a grown conversation and say what needs to be said. She's just extremely passive. I hate that. She'd rather do one of those confessional comments and discussions, and then, you know, when the person's in your face, you don't have anything to say. So I don't like that. But anyway, Phaedra's whole attitude is that she's riding hard for her husband. Now, I understand wanting to support him, but understand that her support in this conversation is actually not about the fight. She knows that her husband is doing some things and that she cannot do anything to undermine him at this moment, because they are about to, I bet you in her mind, she is thinking, I've got to hold it together on this camera. I've got to hold it together for my husband because it's about to go down. She knows that. She's smart. She's very smart. So watch, just watch how they act together, because I do believe that Phaedra, while she's kind of caught up in this nonsense with Apollo, that her measured response, a lot of her measured responses have a lot to do with her understanding that she needs to keep her mouth shut and just kind of play along in the hopes that everything works out. Of course it won't, but whatever. Hope it does for the kids' sake. So that's my take on it. That's just my take. You know, the thing is watch guilty people. Watch how guilty people act. The way Apollo reacted, you know, he is guilty of crimes, okay? Or he's being prosecuted for crimes that he may very well be guilty of. The way that he responded to Phaedra and his explanations gives him away. They make no sense, his explanations. He just kind of laughs it off. He doesn't admit to anything. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that. Let's see. The audition, who cares? Oh, and you know what? Let's get to our girl, what's her name? I can never remember this girl's name. The one who's married to Cordell. See, I remember his name. I just don't remember hers. If I remember it, I'll talk about her. But if I can't, we're not talking about her. Okay. So, this is the one big, let's see. Oh, Kandi. Okay, Kandi, her reaction to this whole thing, I think, was completely justified. Let's be real. I personally don't think that they should have even considered having a conversation after they broke Apollo up. I think everyone should have gone their separate ways, but they didn't. They decided to stay and continue the conversation. And you all know that that wasn't going to go anywhere but south, because everybody's already turned up on emotions and feeling very defensive. But They continued with the cameras rolling. The producer said, hell no, we've got a lot of drama left to unfold. And boy, they were not kidding. So, you know, the whole notion of Kandi, you know, going off on Cynthia or going off the way that she did, I agree that she could have handled herself better and that she didn't, you know, do herself any favors by acting like that. But at the same time, you know, Mallory, you know, Cynthia's sister, who's really, really irrelevant and extremely fucking unlikable. I mean, the chick is just, she's like plaster, like drying on the wall, and she's just I don't know why she's there, but you just really want her to get popped one good time, because she's not serving a purpose, and what she is trying to do is make herself relevant in the worst way. So she put her hands on top. She actually pushed him. Okay, and I know Kandi caught that, because I think Kandi caught some of that too. I think maybe she pushed Kandi as well, but the bottom line is she shouldn't have done any of that. And so Kandi, after being approached by Peter, and then also being pushed by Mallory, and then also having Cynthia do all of this in your face, which I'm going to co-sign with Kandi on that. Cynthia does this in people's faces, and I talk with my hands too. I'm black and I'm Sicilian. I talk with my hands like everyone else, but this in the face thing, yeah, that's enough to make you want to hurt somebody. So, yeah, Kandi had it. She popped off and she said, this is it. I'm about to really drag your ass across the floor. And don't think that she would not have done it. How many people in here think that Kandi would have floored all three of them? Okay, would have been funny too. So anyway, Peter is also irrelevant. I'm kind of annoyed with Peter. But anyway, Kandi wanting to kind of smooth things over, I think, was commendable. So she invites everyone, and I like that. I like that she did that. I like that she feels like, you know what, I like Cynthia. Let me just make sure my girl is okay and that we're good. That, to me, is mature. She didn't have to do that, but it was mature. I think that Cynthia's reaction was immature. But remember, she's the one who started all of this shit. The ones who started are the ones who never want to finish it and who never want to admit to what they did. And she barely did that. Now, if she were really woman enough, Cynthia should have said, you know what, Candace, I appreciate your apology. Okay, I appreciate your gesture, and thank you for bringing me to this spa and for paying for this spa, even though the show paid for it, not Kandi. But still, the gesture was there. Cynthia should have then said, you know, I see how my part in this kind of made everything escalate. I really do regret repeating what Chris's wife said. It probably wasn't the best thing for me to do. She never says that. I think that is a person who is really, truly fucked in the head. That's my feeling. That is someone who does not accept responsibility for their actions. And I don't trust people like that as far as I can throw them. You don't trust people like that, because those are the people who will throw you under the bus. Those are the people who will run you over. You know, you're on the bus and they will run you over and then say, oh, I don't know how that happened. I don't like people like that. And I think that that's a severe character flaw, because she should have taken that opportunity to really think about what she did. No one's hands in this is clean. No one. Least of all hers. And the fact that she was rolling her eyes and like, I don't want to talk to you all, then stay your ass home. You know, and I'm disappointed that Kandi let her get away with it, but at the same time, I think Kandi was just trying to be the bigger person, and kudos to you on that, because you were in this case. The whole thing with them attacking, I'm going to give this a big old thumbs down, y'all. The whole thing with them attacking Kenya and blaming her for the whole thing, that's just ridiculous. They decided that she was going to be a scapegoat. But I'm going to tell you why I think Kenya deserved that. Okay? I disagree that she was wholly to blame for it. I think it's ridiculous. But just because she got up and walked across the room, she's now responsible for everyone else's bad behavior, including Apollo's and these other grown men who let their egos and their testosterone take over to the point where they all were fighting. That's not her fault. You know, she's responsible for her actions, which is getting up and walking across the room to approach another woman. That wasn't the best idea. She could have sat down. She could have done a lot of other things. But let's not forget a couple of things. This is what you call chickens coming home to roost. Kenya's she's a big shit stirrer. She's that girl in high school. The difference between her, Nene, and Cynthia is that Kenya is that chick who would be like, I said it. Yeah, I said it, because that's what she was doing with Chris's wife. She was like, oh, that husband was a 40 and slip. Maybe he is a little, I don't know what his thing is, but I've heard. So anyway, see, what I do like about Kenya is that Kenya owns the dirt that she starts, and she stands by. Think about it. Every time Kenya gets into some mess and starts some mess on this show, she says it, and she says, oh, I said this. Yes, I did say it. I said it, and I meant it, and I'll say it again. And that is exactly what she did in this argument. She stood up, and Chris's wife said, what? Don't backpedal, Kenya. And Kenya said, oh, no, darling, I'm not backpedaling. I'm front pedaling, and this is how I do it. So Kenya was about to get in, down, and up into her ass. And I like that about Kenya, that she does not walk away from the fact that she stirs the pot. As a matter of fact, she stirs the pot and she calls everyone to the table and she says, y'all come and get some of this. Y'all come get some of this that I made. I like that about her because at least she owns up to it. So I can't understand why everyone would feel the need to, well, because they don't want to take their own responsibility. Everyone feels the need to attack her. My problem with this whole moment is that, of course, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. Nene is trying to be the savior or the innocent one, and she's the guiltiest. But also, this to me underscores a really big problem with this show right now, and that's that Nene Leakes, bless her heart, she's ineffective in her role. Okay, she went off to Hollywood, she did her thing, she tried to separate herself and away from the show that made herself seem better because she now has a reputation, because now she's working with all these Hollywood people. I understand that, but then what you did was you came back and you got into the mud pit, and now you've got shit all over you, and so now you look worse than you did even before you left the show, and you look worse than you would have if you had just done Kandi's play. So, she needs somebody to counsel her, to really talk to her about some of the things that she's doing, because she's taking her stock way down. That aside, she's also executive producer on this show. I know that for a fact. She is some sort of, I'm pretty sure she gets executive producer. She gets to sign off on who stays and who goes, and that has always been the case. She's the one who actually brought Kim onto the show. The producers said to her, oh, we want to do this show. Do you know any other women, like yourself, who you could bring on, friends or whatever? And she put Kim on. She brought Kim on. So, and Cherie, she got rid of Cherie. So Nene is practically the one who is signing their checks, practically. So that's why none of them want to confront her or read her. But that's a problem. That's a huge problem. And I think the producers need to rectify it. I think they need to either not get rid of Nene, put her behind the scenes, or just, bring Kim back. Bring somebody back like Kim who can stand up to her. Because without someone standing up to Nene, this imbalance of power and everyone's fear of her is becoming really nauseating. I think it's just bullshit. Nobody wants to see that. Nene needs to be checked. I'm hoping that Andy Cohen does it during the reunion show. I think because he can do it in a way, he's so cute. He does these things in a way that, you just want to give him a hug. Like, they won't hate him for it. So, let's see what happens during the reunion. Anyway, so let me wrap this up. We're waiting for they should never have continued the conversation. Mallory is thirsty. Oh yeah, Mallory's thirsty. We know that. Okay, I still can't remember this girl's name, but anyway, the one who was married to Cordell. I can't remember this girl's name. The one who thought the Underground Railroad was a real railroad underground. Okay, whoever she is, she can go. She can just exit left. ASAP, because she left the event and she pretty much just showed how irrelevant she is and how childish she is, and I saw demons, I saw evil, nobody has time for that. So anyway, this was a great episode. I mean, listen, we're all feeding off of the strife, but it's so ridiculous. How can you not? What do you think? Do you think Nene should still be on the show? I think Nene should be on the show, but I think she needs to be pulled back. I think she needs to be reined in, or they need to bring some people on who are not afraid of her, who have just as much power as her, or who've known her long enough to be able to check her, because her husband's not going to do it, and no one else on that show is going to do it. And Kenya really should have done it. That's what really annoys me, is that Kenya got the brunt of all of this, and she should have been the one to be like, Nene, please. Also, the thing with Kenya, I'm going to say is Kenya, while Kenya did not start this whole thing, this is the culmination of Kenya starting shit the entire season. This is how your chickens come home to roost. You see, you didn't do this time. You didn't start this whole thing, and she kind of did when she made that comment about to Chris's wife. But still, this whole event blowing up, it wasn't all on her shoulders. But the fact that she took pride in being the big mouth this whole season and starting trouble at every damn event made it easy for everyone else to blame her for something. She created the pathway for people to bring this to her to say it's your fault, because she's created enough drama to earn that title, So if you don't want it, don't work towards it. And she's been working towards this moment this whole season. You knew she was going to get her comeuppance at some point. It may seem unjustified, but that's how life is. You go around and you do your dirt and you think that nothing is going to happen, and it does come back to you, and it never comes back to you the way you expect it or the way you want it. Life does that to you. It surprises the shit out of you, and when it hits you hard. So this guy, I think, hit her hard because her assistant got his butt kicked, and I don't think she liked to see that. I think that hurt her. And all of her friends, turned on her. So anyway, stop stirring shit. Stop stirring shit. It's just not worth it. That's it. So anyway, I hope you guys kind of sort of enjoyed this. I'm trying to get better at this. You let me know what you think, but I definitely want to know what you think about the show, about the episode. And not only that, let's look at this. Let me ask you this question. This season, 2 people are going. Why do we know this? How do we know this? Because it's been 2 seasons of the same people on the show, and we know that after 2 seasons, they flip the script and they change the characters. They have to do this to keep the show fresh. So now, who should go and who should stay? Got 2 people